Marianne DeNovellis here with the Six-Figure Mastermind. Today we're going to be talking about how to deal with the negative people in our world. And it's not what you think, so watch this video to find out what it really takes. Hey there, it's Marianne DeNovellis, and today we're answering the question, how to deal with negative people. If you're anything like me, you know that there's a lot of Debbie Downers out there. You know that there's a lot of people that are going to say, no, stop, you can't, that's a bad idea. Or even if you're on social media, I've seen this over and over again. Oh, I stopped using social media because there was so much negativity online that it was just getting to me. Man, I have felt that so heavy at times where other people will just feel like a garbage dump and dump and dump and dump, and all the gossip and all the bashing just feels so heavy. How do we break through it? How do we get rid of the negativity in our life? Especially when, let's say, some negative people in your world are people that you actually love and love to be around. Maybe there's some family members that fall into that same category. Maybe there's some close friends or some longtime acquaintances that fall into that category, and you're struggling with, man, I would really love to stay in touch with this person, but there's just so much that's going on that I don't like and doesn't feel good when we have conversations or we see each other online. So, here's the question. How do we deal with negative people? First things first, really get clear on what it is that you do want. Whatever you focus on grows, and that's worth writing down. Let me just ask you a question. Maybe in your world at some point in your life you've gotten a new car, or one that's at least new to you. What did you notice as soon as you stepped into that vehicle and started driving it around for a week or two? I bet you noticed that same car on the road, maybe even the same color, over and over and over again. I'll never forget when I stepped into a Geo Metro that I didn't even buy. It was my parents' first car. I noticed that Geo Metro everywhere, and this was 20 years ago, and I still notice the Geo Metro on the road because that was the first car, and I'm not a car girl, but it was the first car that stuck in my mind because I had a perception filter for it. And here's what a perception filter is. The human brain is hardwired. It's a lot of times hardwired for validation. And by validation, I mean this. As human beings, we really want to know that we made the right choice. So when you step into your new vehicle, when you step into your new car and you start driving around and you find yourself suddenly noticing all of these other cars on the roads that are exactly like yours, your brain is looking for that because it wants to know that it made the right decision. And this is what we mean when we say whatever you look for will grow. So, what are we looking for? If we are constantly saying, oh, my life is so full of negative people. Oh, I can't be on social media because all of the garbage that I see online, you're looking for it. And a lot of people, oh, that's hard to hear. But try this on. Think about the car, for example. What if you were to say, oh, I love being surrounded by positive people. I love being the beacon of positivity in my world. I love finding my supporters and people that help me get to where I need to go. When that happens and you start looking for what you actually want, you'll find that a lot of the negativity will disappear. Another way to get rid of the negativity in your world is to understand why it's there in the first place. Now think about this. Maybe you've gone to the gym, maybe you went this morning, you're planning to go tomorrow morning, or maybe you're on your way there right now. Maybe you're watching this at the gym. If you're at the gym, you're experiencing what's called resistance. Now, what is resistance? For a moment, imagine yourself at the gym, except instead of being on the earth, imagine your gym being on the moon. You've got maybe 120 pounds on your bench press that you're lifting up, but on the moon, it's what, a sixth of the weight? So it's just a fraction of what you're experiencing on Earth. And let me just ask you, are you going to get any stronger? If you're lifting 1/6 of the weight that you do as a bench press on Earth, your muscles are not going to grow. They just won't. If you're at the gym and maybe let's put you back on Earth, you're at the gym and you're saying, oh, I want to get stronger, I want to be fit, I want to be healthy, I want my muscles to grow, but oh, that hard work. Who wants that? Who wants that resistance? Who wants to break a sweat? Who wants to invest all that time and energy? And who wants to really be up against the metal and lift heavy stuff all day? Who does that? Well, we do it to get stronger. In this case, we get to be thankful for the resistance. We get to express gratitude. You don't go to the gym to lift nothing. You don't go on a run outside because it's easy or because there's no resistance for you. You go because of the resistance. And the resistance is exactly what makes you stronger. Now, how do we bring that into the realm of negative people? We're going to go into a topic that I love called feedback. Now, feedback is an interesting thing. No matter what you do, where you go, or what you say, you are going to get feedback in your world. And feedback could look anything like, oh, I support you, I love what you're doing, to you should stop, slam on the brakes and abandon the car because what you're doing is no good. I got 2 ideas for you. Question yourself on this. Is all feedback valid? Take, for example, some feedback. Let's say that you want to run a marathon. And you're getting some feedback from people that, oh, you know what? My sister actually broke her leg running a marathon. You should never do that. Or marathons are for crazy people. Do you know the damage that'll do on your bones to have all of that impact? That's feedback. Now take another group of people and maybe they're marathon runners just like you. And they say, oh, I remember my first marathon. I remember the feeling of the community all around me. I remember putting on my number for the first time. I've even got a wall in my home with all my numbers on it. I remember the adrenaline rush of having accomplished something that I've never done before. You're going to love it. Now, is both feedback valid? You got to question that. Maybe the feedback that says you shouldn't do it, it's going to be hard for you, you're going to break your leg, maybe that feedback doesn't apply to you because you have already gotten clear on your decision to go forward. Some feedback is valid, some feedback isn't. The feedback that supports your decision is valid for you. And maybe some feedback that says, oh, my sister broke her leg, maybe you can even make that valid by saying, oh, what happened? And maybe there's a preventative way for me to keep myself more in health during my marathon. So some feedback is valid, some feedback isn't. That's just what I want you to ask yourself. If you're getting feedback from decisions that you made, step into what I call Switzerland. Switzerland is a neutral zone. We don't take sides. We don't do that. And I'm going to say, okay, all of my personal feelings and emotions aside, is this feedback valid? And if it is, then it's useful. So I'm going to question myself, is it valid, yes or no? But I'm going to ask you to question this. Is all feedback useful? And I submit that it absolutely is. Even feedback that offers resistance for you is useful because you know either that you're on the right track or you get to make a shift. So let's go back to our example. You've decided to run a marathon. You know the date, you're training, you've found a community that supports you, and maybe you've got this community over here that knows your history but doesn't know your future and is not supporting you. If you're in a neutral zone in Switzerland, you can examine all of that feedback and say, yep, that's helpful. Yep, that's helpful. Yep, I love that support. Yo, you bring up some really good ideas and some concerns. I'm going to actually do some preventative measures so that I can have the best experience possible. So negativity, maybe it's just resistance trying to help you out. Now it's time to make room for some choice. You know, we all came to this planet with different ideas, different experience, different concepts. And as we go throughout life, we continually make one decision after another that may or may not match someone else's idea of the best. Someone else may make decisions that may not match our idea of what's best. Here's something I want you to write down, underline, circle, put exclamation points on, and tape to every mirror in your house. I cannot know what's best for another person. I can only know what's best for me. Keep that thought in mind. And here's why that's so important. Every different person that comes in our realm of experience has their own perception filters. What I mean by that is they've had their own experiences. They've had their own times of trial. They have had their own times of testing. They've had their own joys. They've had their own experiences in this world that brought them decisions or created decisions within them that said some things are a good idea and some things are a bad idea. Everyone in your world gets to be at choice. We said before, we can't know what's best for another person, and I don't even try. All I can do is open the door and see what's possible. I can't make anyone do anything. I can't make anyone feel anything. I can't make anyone know anything. And the same goes for you. No one can make you feel a certain way. All they can do is extend an invitation. I mean, really think about it. No one can actually shrink down to the microbot size and jump into your mind and pull the plugs here and plug them in here and release the chemicals of serotonin or dopamine or cortisol. They can't do that. It's not possible. All they can do is extend an invitation, and sometimes that invitation may be an invitation to be sad or angry, hurt or upset. It's your job whether or not you want to accept and open the letter. If someone in your world comes at you very combative, you have the choice. You're going to expand the time between stimulus and response, which means you got some information, some input from one of your 5 senses that says you should act, feel, or be a certain way. You get to extend that time and say, how do I want to respond to this? How do I want to show up here? Do I want to accept the invitation, or I'm going to say return to sender? How do you want to feel? Get clear on what that looks like for you, and then make every step that you take in your world fit in alignment with what you want to create, feel, and be. Okay, now you've got all the steps that you need to get in and out of those negative situations, to surround yourself with amazing friends, to find the best people in your world. If you really want to find some really, really cool people to hang out with, click on the link below, come to our next 3-day event, and come check out the amazing group of people that are there at Limitless.